Good morning. This is Talking Devils, the leading independent Manchester United podcast. I'm your host, Wayne Barton, joined by Manchester United legend Paul Parker. Good morning, Mr. Parker. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Wayne. I'm fine, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Absolutely fine. Yeah, this morning, yeah.
you have a good weekend?
Um, Quite of a normal, to be perfectly honest. Just a game on Sunday, no game on Saturday. So didn't do anything related to football at all on Saturday.
I presume you
Sorry,
watched.
which I'm just sorry. Saturday, yes. So I'm getting my days mixed up because I did nothing yesterday. For some reason I've got my days mixed up. Yes, obviously the game Saturday, the 12:30, which is always a great for me, makes a day even better with a 12:30 kickoff. And then yesterday was when I had nothing to do. I knew that I was kind of limited on my football this weekend. Yesterday was a day of nothing,
Yeah,
not at all really, nothing.
yeah. 12:30 kickoffs are good because if you win, you've got the bounce. If you lose, you got the rest of the weekend in front of you. It still ruins it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not old. I don't know if there's an age. Does it come an age? I mean, as a player, obviously you don't because you go through that. Is there ever an age where you're a football fan where the result doesn't shape your weekend? It's mad how it still does that. One day I'll grow up, Paul. That's the day. I'm gonna grow up. At some point, I guess. What did you make of yesterday's game? Entertaining end. It wasn't the best game up until quarter of an hour from the end. Sabozlai with that free kick, and then the manic nonsense at the end.
Well, to be honest, I initially I could after watching City the last few weeks, obviously from the from the Derby game onwards. I mean, prior to that, they've been poor. They couldn't win games. They was drawing in a Premier League a hell of a lot, and I couldn't see them winning that game after watching that performance midweek
Yeah,
against Newcastle and City defensively, especially with the I can't pronounce his name. I normally do when I've kind of warmed myself up to it. Um, the one in the centre half next to Gahey in Kazakhstan, I think he's from. I just think he's such a poor.
Kuzanov.
Yeah,
Kuzanov.
Kusanov, thank you. And he nearly gave him a goal. But again, trying to dribble. What Pep he's like Pep when he first come over, where every centre half was trying to dribble their way out of trouble, and he does that so many times. And in the end, when you look at it, he come off because he took a bit of a clump. Pep couldn't get him off quick enough and get Diaz on. And now I look at that game and I think to myself, okay, I looked at Liverpool and I thought, I just fancied Liverpool to get themselves sorted out and because they look like they're scoring goals and creating opportunities. But we see Liverpool's biggest problem is creativity and defensively.
Yeah,
They're just and City are poor, were poor. Now Diaz is back in there with Gahey. I think it makes a difference. It makes a difference in that middle, gives them more surety. Two centre halves who are positive with the ball as well. So City could move forward and add a bit of competition. What's going to happen up top, to be
yeah,
perfectly honest. But I look at Liverpool, and for every reason you say to yourself, this is a club which has grown everything and always seen themselves as doing everything right in buying and when they buy. Why didn't they spend an extra 10, 15, 20 million pounds and get Gahey?
yeah,
What in their minds? How did they not push that one over the line when at the end of the day, Palace couldn't really say no to it if they did do it at that given time? They could say no to what there must have been something there to say you have to go a bit more for that deal to go through. And I look at them and they've got the tweaker there and I just think to myself they can definitely improve in that left side of defence, have a centre half who actually does really, I mean, the whole thing with Van Dijk is get as many touches as possible of the ball, and then you can stay top of that league, and everyone thinks you're great.
yeah,
That's what. But Gahey is so much better than him with the ball. He's better defensively. People don't actually go past him easy. He doesn't back off. He stands his ground and he jockeys and he gets low. He does everything that it says in the football textbook. And they'd be so much better because Kanate is a good centre half. He's just been unfortunate enough to play next to Van Dijk, and Van Dijk passes the buck on to him and gestures to the crowd. So virtually, it's his fault, not me.
yeah,
So you look at Liverpool now, fullback areas, they're poor.
Yeah.
And that was, and they're really poor now in that area. So Liverpool have got a lot. Sorry, Slot's got a lot of work to do for next season, because he'll start next season with only 1 year left, with only another year left on his contract.
Yeah.
So it's
Well,
going to be.
if
Go
he
on,
does,
sorry, mate.
if he does get there, he might not get there. Because of how they play. It was an interesting one. That the force at the end was funny. I mean, I was like of the thing, let the goal stand, but then he's pulled him back. Do you know what I mean? And Zoboszlai would have got there. He would have got there if Haaland didn't pull him. So you've got to disallow the goal, I guess, and give the
Yeah,
red
but I mean,
card.
I just think sometimes, Wayne, as much as there's rules, but sometimes let the referee,
Yeah,
well, I'll talk about players having initiative. The referee used his initiative there, and he thought, well, he's done that, and he's kind of gone, well, no, he can do that because he's done that, and bang, and the outcome is it's a goal. Liverpool don't end up with a player suspended. I can just let the goal go, and I'll speak to my peers will speak to me, and I'll turn around and give my explanations. I'll get one of them, and there you are. But the football people, the ones who have threw down coats on the grass, on wet grass, and started just kicking about a tin can, they're kind of going, "Come on, let it go." And that's the thing. That's football. We're getting now to the state of where football is where everything has to be correct. Why
yeah,
did they have? Why are we going down that line? And again, I'll throw it up. The reason why we're going down that line, because of what the future's holding about football becoming an overseas sport.
yeah. Liverpool would probably have preferred the goal and the goal to stand and Zoboszlai to stay on,
Yeah,
but
because they haven't got a right back, Wayne.
yeah,
No.
yeah. Well, he's not one either, but he did it. Like you want him on the pitch, even he's a right back. He's that good for
Yeah.
them. He's been a really good player for them. You can't contend that. Yeah, I mean, it is bad. But he's like it is the worst thing to do, and I hate VAR. Like, and I've talked about it so many times. And it's stuff like this. Like you've got a funny goal at the end, and it is about football. Like he's gone up, the goalkeeper's gone up, and he's thing, and then it's 50-50 with Haaland and Szoboszlai. But the problem is that Szoboszlai would have got there, and Haaland would have got there first and scored and finished it, and Szoboszlai would have probably cleared it once he pulled him back. So the referee, it's such a nonsense. I mean, you blame the players as much as you blame the referee, don't you? All right, I'm just going to run through some things on this day before we get to talking about the Spurs game. United have been linked with Sandro Tonali, the Newcastle midfielder. That's the only transfer rumour from today's press. I can't see that one happening considering Newcastle. they'll let him go anywhere, but United won't they? I would have thought. Some happy birthdays. A lot of people born on this day, 9th of February. Pat Dunn, the former United goalkeeper, we signed him after injuries to Harry Gregg and David Gaskell. He stepped in and helped United to win the title in '65. He won the title medal there. Soon replaced by Alex Stepney, but he stepped in. He was steady for a little while. On this day, some more happy birthdays, not just Pat Dunn. Gordon Strachan probably could still kick a ball on a pitch today. He's probably fit enough to do that. Darren Ferguson, maybe not. Mark Wilson, friend of the pod, who's appeared a couple of times, former United youth midfielder, played a few times in the first team, most famously for Middlesbrough, went on to, didn't they? And Jordi Cruyff, son of Johan Cruyff, all born on this day. Different years, of course. On this day in 1907, Billy Meredith scored his first United goal in a 4-1 win over Stoke. On this day in 1986, I don't know, Paul wasn't there, but he might remember the game, the famous tear gas game at Anfield. We drew 1-1. Brick hits the window of the United coach, nearly clatters into Mark Hughes' head. Clayton Blackmore and Ron Atkinson get ammonia sprayed in their eyes. And even children, like, because there were so many fans around the thing, I think it's a 12-year-old went to hospital with ammonia in his eyes.
It's the only things Blackie talks about. Blackie only talks about Welsh people and that incident. two of his main topics.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot. And his third topic is golf.
Golf now, yeah.
And that is it. That's Blackmore.
But about games, talking about Giggs, he'll talk about Giggs as the best player that's ever existed as well. I'm not going to disagree with him about how good Giggs was. On this day in 2014, the infamous game against Fulham, David Moyes against Rennie Mullenstein, where Fulham just set up and David Moyes put 70-odd crosses in, was it? And it's also the first podcast we've done since the anniversary of the Munich air disaster, which was on Friday. The club marked it with the usual ceremony. The passing of Jeff Bent, Roger Byrne, Eddie Coleman, Duncan Edwards, who passed away 2 weeks later as a result of the injuries that he sustained in the crash. Mark Jones, David Pegg, Tommy Taylor, and Liam Billy Whelan. We remember them as we did on Friday as well. Comments going in. The Tonali news is amazing. Let's move on from Belieber and secure Tonali and Anderson. Yeah, I'm not. They won't sell him. They will not sell him to United. It just won't happen. Rob White says, legend, Paul. We won't find anyone disagreeing on this podcast. Well, maybe Paul, but he's not going to get a word in on for that one. You won't find me disagreeing. All right, so United 2-0 against Spurs. Christian Romero with a red card early on. It changes the pattern of the game, really. Before that, United was shooting from long range. Spurs had a good 10-15 minutes before before Romero was sent off. They weren't ever particularly brilliant, but they were setting the pace of the game, actually, and United was struggling to find a way, apart from Casemiro had the effort that was saved from range. Cunha had the effort that went just wide, but they were United mostly testing from range. And I was starting to think, you know what, this is going to be a really good test of United, probably the biggest that we've seen so far under Carrick, because we're not playing particularly well. How does he get them up for this challenge? Because Spurs were really resolute. But the red card changed it all. United, to be fair, worked really well on the set piece as well. Maybe Romero might have made a difference there, but it was a well-worked goal for Brian Mbeumo. And then a bit of a war of attrition in the second half. United having lots of territorial domination. Spurs trying to break, but not getting anywhere. United had a fair few chances, but again, mostly sort of like, Dalot had a chance, Shaw had a chance, It wasn't like a massively convincing performance after that, but then again, you've got to say we did the job. We get 4 wins from 4, and we did what we did and beat the opponent that was in front of us. We did what we had to do. And I guess rather than thinking, oh, do you know what, that's the test that we wanted to see answered, to see about the character and resilience of a team breaking one down. Basically, what you have is the test that's in front of you. And United answered it perfectly, and they were completely professional. Spurs didn't have a shot on goal, really, a proper shot on target after they went down to 10 men. So United did with it as best they could, a proper professional job. They would have probably been a bit aggrieved that they didn't finish the job earlier to allow them to rest 3 or 4 players with the game coming up on Tuesday rather than on Wednesday, or having another break in there. So that part of it is probably the only drawback. But what did you make of the win? The Romero red card does make it difficult to analyse properly, but like I said, it is still a test. So, what did you make of what you saw on Saturday?
Again, yeah, I think every game is a test for United at this moment in time because of the big 2 that Michael Carrick had to start with. I think after that, then you look at those 2 and every game, and what boiling down to is you start looking at individuals as well as looking at the players collectively. To be perfectly honest, and you assessing where you're going to go to next after this season with players. You're looking at how their form is leveling out. Is it leveling out? Is it showing the positive side of consistency? That you can move forward with them. And Spurs is always going to be that one of those games as well. With the ones coming up as well. You're looking the one on Tuesday night, which I would be at as well. And lucky enough, my missus is going to be far away with mates in the prawn sandwich bit of it while I'm there talking about it, because I can't take all the swearing and screaming. But that's another one with a team that is, in a way, West Ham. West Ham's, the way their season's been, they're on a massive up at the moment.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
It's going to be their biggest crowd, proper big crowd for a while. because everyone, the name on the ticket will actually be going to this game because it's Manchester United, rather than trying to give them away to people because they don't want to go anymore. So this is the game. This is the game. So, and it's going to be the noisiest the stadium's mostly been all season because of it. So so United are going to light up the East End, in that way, with two sides who have hit a bit of form at the time. So it's a really, really big, of the midweek fixtures. For me, it's the biggest one.
Yeah.
When you look at everything that's going with it, two sides, and it's difficult for me, who I don't ever want West Ham to get relegated, because we've got so many good mates, season tickets, and everything that they put into it. The club is their love, but it's a difficult game to call at this moment in time, in my opinion, just because of the way West Ham are, and obviously the course where United are, because I want United. I'm looking at this so far, and I think to myself, United could finish at least second in the way they are at this moment, and with the games coming up as well, given where they are now compared to where they were prior to Michael Carrick, they're in a great position to actually come out and actually say they can go and win their next forthcoming games.
Yeah, it is incredible, really. I mean, Paul, ever the professional there, preparing for the West Ham game. We're talking about Spurs, Paul. We'll get to West Ham in time. Talk to me about what I mean. First of all, we'll talk about the red. In fact, no, we'll just come to a couple of things here. Comments here. Niche fan says we should have put 5 past them after Romero went off, but he was still glad for the win. I don't know if I'd do 5, but we had the domination to think, we should have put it away. Made it more comfortable to make changes. That's what I would have liked to have seen. It's harsh for Aidan Evan, you know what I mean, to be running up and down that sideline when he's done so well when he's been in the team. And I said it when Amorim comes in. Rory, who I go to the match with most weeks, bored of me saying this, that whenever you sack a manager, they come in with their own favourites, and your favourite might not be the one who gets picked. And it was Manu last time, and it's Heaven this time. They're just not getting game time, and it would have been nice to have seen us get a 2 or 3 goal advantage to give Heaven some time, even to give Malacia some time on the pitch, because we need an option alternative to Luke Shaw in there in case he breaks down, and he may well do that. It'd be nice to see Yoro get a few more minutes on the pitch. Nice to see a change of shape in there so that Ugarte can get some minutes and not look like he's going to be dropping a bomb every 2 seconds. Rory saying there, we won, but we weren't prepared to play against 10 men, so we could have lost it. I never thought it was that difficult, but I get what you're trying to say. Just a quick one here, Niche fan saying, I don't know. Don't talk about it on this podcast. Goldbridge is saying that the Tonali news is real. What is real is that United are interested in him. That's coming from all the reputable sources. It's not coming from Goldbridge. So that's as far as how real it is. But whether or not Newcastle will sell him, because they are minted and they don't have to sell someone. A few of these Newcastle players who want to start moving, apart from the PSR regulations, they might have a hard summer, those Newcastle players, because they've just sold Isak for 120 million. They're in a good position. They don't need to sell anyone. They're not going to want to sell Tonali. We shall see. Expected Boy says, morning, gents. Hope you both well. Team has looked superb since Big Mike took over. A bit cautious when they went down to 10, but a win is a win. Yeah, that's probably right. We probably were a little bit apprehensive in absolutely going to town and finishing them off. First of all, before we talk about the goals and the run of the game, Paul, the red card, it did change the game. The lad who, the old bloke who I'm sat next to, probably prefer to call him a lad, he goes down 10 minutes before I do. He goes into, for half time. So he'd seen the incident, and he came back up and he was like, oh, it's one of those where it looks worse every time you see it. And it probably is. It was a really bad one, wasn't it? His ankle's planted, and the way that he bends back, it's really bad. And he can't have any complaints about it.
I don't like the way Michael Oliver reacted and couldn't get the card out of his pocket quick enough. Yeah. And the one thing, when you listen to these ex-referees talk, and they always talk about the fact of giving yourself time to run things through your head, assess the situation, just look at everything first and think about it. Anything going on in your head, meaning with your anything in your ears, have a quick listen. But he didn't do it. And the one thing that everyone says after, well, VAR should have, someone should have VAR this and VAR that. He's their main referee. He's like being the chief doctor. No one's gonna question him. No one's gonna have big enough gonads to go and do that. I see it and I think about when my ankle was done, the start of my biggest problems in the game against Blackburn, when Kevin Gallagher, what he done to me. And there's the thing about it, if they were slow mowing things down, my ankle would have looked exactly the same. The thing about it, if you was to slow a game down and watch it, just watch it as a normal person, and you saw the way people's knees and their ankles, how they move, then you'll suddenly go, wow, I didn't know the human body could do that. And that's exactly what it is. The human body can do, because if it couldn't do it, there'd be injuries all the time, or people would be running in straight lines, be robots. So there's a reason why his ankle could manipulate itself to be like that. And the more they kept showing it in slow motion, all they kept doing is like getting votes. It's like virtually getting votes up on the ball. Oh, look at the state of his ankle. But that's natural. Every time you tackle and you do everything, that's how it works. So was there any intention for him to go and do that? No. Was it behind the fact that Casemiro's brain moved quicker than what Romario's did? And that's what it boils down to. Casemiro moved the ball quicker than what Romero could do getting across there. Because Romero, for me, typifies, in a way, and people might call this generalisation, but of an Argentinian defender in the way he plays. Martinez, look at him, the way he is.
Remember that incident that we had for years and years and years.
Yeah, but that's the way they are. That it's there with them. And Martinez is, he's been. If you talk about consistency, the moment he's come in for his first 90 minutes, he's been United's best player.
Yeah.
If you look at that over that, if you added goals, you talk about him winning the Premier League Player of the Year. If you gave him a few goals, that's how he's been playing. But everything is like that. It's just that close to people calling him this and calling him that.
I thought you were doing that's how tall he is.
No, I can never do that. And the funny is, you mentioned that he's 5'9", bit whatever. Yeah. And all of a sudden, 5'9" is small. You think yourself, who are these? So that tells you something again where I thought was going, because all of a sudden it's getting height orientated now. But I'm in a way, because he's got a rep, Romario. He's got a rep, and that's the thing he carries around. We went through a stage, Wayne, and you remember every time Casemiro made a tackle, everyone's going, "Oh no, please stay on your feet, don't slide, don't do this." Because of all of a sudden becomes a bit of a fashion, and referees get caught up in it. And the problem is we've got players of today who use that. And the moment when Casemiro slid, the players would go and scream. And that was it. And so Romario's got that about him every time. Fans get it as well now, because fans follow trends as well. The moment there's a tackle and two players now touch each other, they want fouls, they want bookings. The moment the ball hits you on the chest, they want handball, because they know there's a secondary body in a little broom cupboard who just might be asleep, who just might do you a favour, and that's where everything leads to. So getting to it, in certain ways, I feel a little bit sorry for him, Romero.
You don't think it's a red though?
I'm just looking at it, and if we're going to give red cards for every time someone misses a challenge and treads on people's feet and whatever, and call it malicious, violent, it could have killed him, then we're getting even more problems with our game, because it's just getting ridiculous now, Wayne. What I'm seeing in football, I'm sitting there, and sometimes I want to put my hand over my mouth, because whatever I say, I'm going to be, well, it's different in your day. Yeah, it was different, but it was men against men, and a shoulder was a shoulder. And a tackle was a tackle, and you would hit each other. But the one thing you do is you win the ball. You win the ball, and all of a sudden, the momentum of you win the ball, because you can't play football without momentum. It's a fact, because of what it is, that you are going to maybe catch the player as you go through. But as long as you're not showing an intent to hurt the man by having your arm up, or flick as you go through, push your leg harder through, and I'm trying to do that while I'm sitting on my sofa. No, it's not a problem. And that's where we're getting to now. And it seems like the establishment are pushing and pushing to virtually make football and end up playing like we're all playing on the table football, that you can't get close to anybody. Because as much as they keep saying about, oh, the technique's great, the technique is this, the reason why is because you know that really people can't pin you down as what they used to, because they're scared of if they touch you. At best, they give away a foul. At worst, they get a red card. So football isn't football on that side of it anymore, because they're trying to take away physicality and momentum. If you can't slide anymore, that means you can't get to situations. I mean, what was the one? There was Allison. Allison comes. It was Allison for the No, it wasn't Allison. It was a goalkeeper yesterday. At some point, I can't remember what it was. And he comes out, and the momentum of him coming, and he catches the player. The player wasn't going to get the ball.
Yeah.
He wasn't. He kicked it too far, and he just pushed himself in towards the keeper who's coming out to close the situation down.
It was the
goal
at the end.
Yeah. How do you do that? How do you stop that? You're trying to do your job. I was at West Ham. Areola comes out and goes to punch and does that, punches, and then the Nottingham Forest player, Morgan Gibbs-White, runs into him. And all the players get up, prepare themselves, ball goes out, go to take a goal kick, hold on a minute, referee puts his finger to the ear, it's a penalty.
Yeah. So
we're going to stop goalkeepers coming off. Are we going to give fouls for when Arsenal have their tag team wrestling matches in a 6-yard box? Is there going to be fouls then if a keeper comes out and hits people? It's getting absolutely ridiculous now, and I've gone off track again. So let's get back in line again, Wayne.
No, because I agree with everything you've just said, apart from the fact that I think Romero should have still been sent off. Everything I agree with.
That was in a way, that was a little bit government-like, really. I totally deflected it, didn't I, there?
Yeah, they're going to be the new prime minister of it. You just didn't want to admit that. Like we were having a little bit of a tiff. One thing that we rarely disagree on, and it was like, oh no, that one is bad. Everything reputation. Oh yeah, it shouldn't have gone on reputation. I'm just speaking in isolation of the incident. It's funny that they went afterwards and that Frank said, oh, he's not that kind of player. He doesn't normally get sent off. And it was pointed out to him that, he actually gets sent off quite a lot. Rory says, I've not watched any replays. My only recollection of the incident is live. I thought he flew into the tackle and wasn't in control of what he was doing. Gives the referee a decision to make. Yeah. So Rory sits in the Stretford end stands. I'm in the South stand. So I was quite a way away from it. I will say my first instinct of watching it live was they both went in for a tackle, and when he pulled out the red card, and I'm just speaking that I couldn't see the ankle, I couldn't see anything apart from the fact that 2 players went in for a tackle. When he pulled out the red, I thought, has Casemiro been sent off? It was only the cheer that told me it's Romero. Do you know what I mean? Like, it could have easily been, but obviously the replay, I agree, it should have been Romero. One thing we can't disagree on, Paul, it completely changed the flow of the game. Changed up the challenge for United. Spurs were playing all right before that moment. They didn't look like they were down on confidence. I wouldn't say that they looked like a team down on the confidence anyway. Afterwards, it was just very difficult, and United managed a potentially difficult situation very well, because we've seen a couple of times this season where they've been down, where they faced someone down to 10 men and they've struggled. Everton were down very early on when was it Keane went off for slapping one of the lads went off for slapping his own player. And they ended up getting a result. Chelsea, we made a meal out of that one when we could have they had the goalkeeper sent off very early on, and we still ended up holding on to that one. Yeah, you can put that down to Amram or whatever. It's just not easy always to win against 10. So changed up the challenge for United. What do you take from that for Michael Carrick then? Do we reserve judgment on the fact we were struggling to get into the game? It's just the fact that the game changed, and we've got to give credit to say, you know what, he did well. He handled the task that was in front of him, and we won.
Yeah, I was kind of asked a question about that performance in the second half and how it went. I said, what would happen is, and I turned and said, back in the day, you'd have walked in the dressing room as a player. You would have been pleased that you got the result in what is from a big fixture. Just call it a big fixture in that way, because it's the only thing it's got about it. Everything else regarding the two teams, they've both lost quite a bit of what they were from over the years. But then the boss would have been waiting there by the door. And then when the last man walks in, he would have slammed the door. And there would have been a rollicking. You won again, there would have been a rollicking because of that performance against 10 men. He'd have been picking players out for overplaying, and his idea of it, if you're up against 10 men, you get the ball to their back line as quick as possible. You get it there as quick as possible, and you actually show exactly everything that's in your favour is the home advantage and the fact you're playing up against one man less. And you go and show them and you let them know that that they're weak at this moment in time. United has virtually used the fact they were down to 10 men, Tottenham, just for the fact of saying, oh, we can pass the ball easier than you.
Yeah.
That's how they used it for. And he would not allow anything like that. And to be honest, I think a lot of supporters know that. The ones who know that already, that performance, as the words that Sir Alex would use, didn't befit a Manchester United team in that current situation. And it didn't. It was poor, really poor. There was no drive. I wanted to, let's put it this way, if it had been, say, a Brucey, a Robbo, and I would say a Roy as well, even though I never played with Roy as a captain, but I would have said a Paul Ince as well, just for the fact of the way Ince was and how miserable he was when things weren't going well. They would have demanded that the ball move quicker from the back. They would have demanded the ball to their feet, and they would have ran with it forward, just ran into an area to drag people out, to slip it. And that was them showing how you led by example. Yeah. And it was no one doing that.
Martinez was
he is the only one, because he does it from there. It's a natural thing for him to do that, and he'll do that in every single game. But he did it in that game as well. He's the only one who drives forward. The only one who drives forward with the ball with his feet, who you've got belief in, and it's a centre half doing it. There isn't a midfield player who can do that, and that's missed in midfield as well, because Roy done that a hell of a lot when he played in there in that way. Robbo did it. Ince done it as well, but no one other than really Martinez, the only player I think who done that for United in that fashion was Roy. Yeah. And it was part and parcel of Roy's game as well. That was a difference. So that was missing, that leadership quality, which is very, very difficult to find in any player. The players with the biggest drive in football now are the Argentinians. They're the hungry ones. They're virtually the British kid coming from the wrong end of town who's got a point to prove, who's fighting for bread and butter for his family. That is. And our game's not producing them anymore, Wayne, because those kids are not being picked up by these high class scouts anymore, because they don't fit the criteria of sitting in a classroom or an auditorium and listening to somebody blabbing on about football.
Paul's on his soapbox today.
I am. I've got one on today.
Usually me. I think you had a good weekend, Paul. It mustn't be the prospect of coming to talk to me for half an hour. It's like, oh, good grief, you're getting in yours before I can get in mine. But no, Martinez was hoovering up the space, and there was a lot of space that was given there. And you're right. I mean, the thing I would say to that is that the things that you were picking up after the red card, in terms of maybe casualness, I thought were existing before the red card, and that was my concern. Is that we've kind of flicked a switch there, and we tend to do this after 2 or 3 games where things go well. It's like the things that are going well, we overdo, and we don't get back to the basics. I mean, for the last few games, we've been scoring from 20 yards, and they've all been great goals. Don't get me wrong, but then all of a sudden, it's like, well, that's all we're going to do now. Like Cunha's effort was great, and Casemiro's was a good glove tester. They were good efforts, but let's get in front first and do them after. Let's get the 1 or 2 goals, and that's what we should have been concentrating after going 1 man up, really, and it took a long time to get there. But having said that, United still did the professional job after, so it's a different kind of test playing against 10, and they did have all the ball, and what they did do well, Paul, and it's not to be completely discounted, you've got to give them credit for it, is the fact that they never allowed Spurs back into the game. I mean, that's easier said because of the fact they're playing against 10. But sometimes we've seen that can be a struggle. But they absolutely professionally closed that game out from the minute they were a man up. They were never in doubt of winning it.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. That's really true. And the thing about it, when Spurs did have 11, for me, there was nothing there to suggest that Spurs could win that game in that way, even though they had their moments and their counters, they had a spell, but there wasn't a great threat there because Spurs are not a great threat, to be perfectly honest. Not like a Spurs of old or whatever. They always, Spurs had those individuals. Even when a team was put out, they had individuals you'd concern yourself about and could do something in that defending third. But they didn't have it, so there wasn't. So going down to 10 men didn't suddenly just, you think so, this around. But Spurs weren't in a great position even before the sending off anyway. They weren't in control of it. United weren't on the ropes or anything. They didn't push them that far to go and do that. So the game was always winnable. A lot of those fans, and I mean the proper fans, the ones who go regular, who've seen it from there up to there and seen a bit there, would in that situation really believe that when they walked into that stadium, that game, that United were going to win that game, given what they'd seen previous, given what they'd seen against Fulham as well in the previous home game. They believed they was going to win that game. So even for me, I had no doubt that United were going to win that game, but I was edgy at 1-1. Sorry, at 1-0, not 1-1. I was edgy because I was worried it was going to go to 1-1. Just for the fact of, whenever I do my predictions thing, which goes in a pub up the road and everything, when it comes to United, always put in United, generally United to win, and I always have one that they're going to concede.
Yeah.
I just don't have that faith that they're not going to concede, to be perfectly honest, So, the most popular scoreline at the moment for most people is 2-1.
Yeah.
Because of the way football is. There isn't many teams who can do that. Even Arsenal started the season talking about after 2 games how they was going to beat Chelsea's defensive record in winning the Premier League. After 2 games, they were talking about that. Yeah. And look at that now. Now they concede goals now. Not as many, but teams are not very good at holding out. Teams that score a lot of goals are conceding goals, quite weak goals. So it has changed in that way. Teams can't sit there and see a game out, as they call it, in that sense. So that's a little bit that always concerns me. Tottenham just didn't have enough there to threaten them. Now, again, I'll say it, we got, in spite of injuries and things like that, I really, for that game on Tuesday, I wouldn't really want him to be changing the team. It doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, Rory says here, the positive, Paul, is that we kept 2 clean sheets in 4 games and doubled what we had the rest of the season. And that's not a fluke. It's coached organisations. I mean, we're not definitely giving credit to Carrick for that because, he's definitely improved that. And he's kept that defence, like you said, even if they're like 2 of the defenders we might not pick, 3 of them we might not pick if everyone's available. But they're playing and they're playing well, and they did the job again on Saturday. Maybe, like we're saying, Martinez was the one eating up space. Dalot gets a bit of praise here because he crossed for the second goal for Fernandes. What did you make of the goals then? Because they were, the first one very nicely worked. Manu making a decoy run around. A decoy runs right in front of everyone, in front of the back line, and it's right in front of goal. And then he's there at the near post, flicks it back. Very elementary training ground goal, but very good, very nicely worked. And then Bruno still working out whether he shinned or stabbed that. I can't really tell. It looks like a good finish. Give him the benefit of the doubt, but it looks a bit like a shinner to me. But he might well have stabbed it as well. A good cross from Dalot. You got to give him credit for that. What did you make of the goals that we scored?
Well, I think you summed up the second one. The first one, I think you have to give quite a bit of credit to the Wayne Barton, the finish.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 players would have smashed that, and no one would have complained if he'd smashed it. He had every right to hit off his laces, as long as it was going goal bound, and everyone said that was well worked. They would have said that. But it's the fact of the way he knew exactly where he wanted to pull it for Carrick, I should say. Didn't see it really because it was a low one, not great pace on it or anything for him to react to. So I think he spent a split second trying to find where the ball was, and where it finished. You couldn't ask for it any better. If it had been another couple of centimeters away from the post, he would have got fingertips there. But he couldn't. It was a fantastic finish. Now, when people talk about a set piece coach, a free kick coach, or these new names they're making up just to have extra people on a pitch when you warm up, when they have these people, and then you end up seeing a scuffle in the box is what you do down at the Emirates. But when you see something work like that, people go, now that is what you talk about, a set piece goal.
Yeah.
A dead ball goal, whatever you want to call it. Let's keep it real. Let's talk real football. A dead ball goal.
Yeah, the routine. The routine that's out there,
Yeah, absolutely. Something like that. And you try that again, and it might not come off because it's just Bruno might not put enough weight on the ball for Cobby to be able to get it back like that, because it needed a certain way for Cobby to virtually help it on in that way. And then he might have then got that wrong himself. He made a mistake, got it wrong. And Bruno might have ended up trying to hit the ball through his laces, and it goes straight into the K-stand. It might do anything. It was that end of the pitch, wasn't it? Yeah. So it might have gone wrong, but those are the things. They're the margins, and that just tells you, that is something. And if Michael Carrick wanted to have it, he could have gone again and got his set piece coach up and just gone, hugged him and go, look at him. What a load of rubbish all that was. But I would turn around and the commentator said to me, so do you think the set piece coach would have helped with that? And I said, I don't think they've got one. I said, but if anything, I said, what's wrong in saying that might have been Michael Carrick? He was that kind of player. He mostly doesn't need one. He's got Steve Holland with him, who's won so much with Chelsea and was integral in the fact of helping England get to where they did in their tournaments when he worked under Gareth Southgate. So I said they don't need to isolate someone into the fact he's a set piece coach. They're football coaches.
Yeah.
There's a whole big bit, and you don't need individual coaches. The football doesn't need that. So for me, I haven't seen United do anything like that. But we might have seen United try things that worked, but they just haven't come off. We only talk about them when they come off, don't we? Generally.
Oh, that's true. Could have a kickoff coach.
Well, I mean that's something as well. Again, John, amazing how many, even City are doing it now. When teams are kicking off now, a lot of them are going straight back to the goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper, I'm going to use the word, oofs it up the field with no culture at all. Just goes bang, have it, and that's what a lot of them do. And you're seeing as well that now you've got centre halves who are blocking the forwards when they try and close down the goalkeeper. Since when have you been ever allowed to do that in football off the ball?
Yeah. Someone had put something about the way that people try and intellectualize things. Someone tried to do a thing the other day, someone toe poked a goal in, and someone had used the lateral something or other. And I'm like, he's toe pegged it. That's what they used to call it when when you said Peter Kay, have it. That's exactly what the kickoffs are like at the moment. No, you're quite right. And sometimes it's might not always come off. It's a routine that works on one occasion. It's like a thing that's set up positionally. Maybe they looked at the way that Spurs set up, and that was something that worked in that kind of thing. It might not work against every opponent, or might not work in every situation. Or you have other things like we were talking about last week or the week before when Sheringham used to flick them on for Spurs, and that's because it was difficult to defend. They put it with the near post, and then it was like a sort of help the ball on and something. Then there'd be a little bit of a melee behind that. These things are coached with the qualities of the players that you've got in mind. And I get a good coach can develop a tactic regardless of the individual quality of the players. But that's the beauty of football, is you look at the players that you've got at your disposal, like Stoke did with Rory Delap. And he's agricultural back in the day, but it's you've got to look out because Rory Delap's got a good long throw, and that was it. Whereas with Arsenal, it's non-specific, generic rugby scrums. And I think the big thing that needs to be said is it's not what you do, it's the way that you do it. And United, there was very clean goal scored from Mbeumo, And yeah, deserved win. Hopefully, we'll answer a different kind of test and win 5 consecutive games against West Ham tomorrow. Coming around 8:15 p.m. I hate these kickoffs, and you hate West Ham for getting out in general, don't you? As a ground, so like getting out at like 10:30 at night is not very good. Just before we talk about West Ham, I know we talked a little bit about it earlier, but very quickly, we'll want to revisit the conversation. Not for Michael Carrick. We'll wait and pause on that one. I'm still quite happy to say keep Carrick. There's no convincing candidate out there, but we'll not nail our colours definitively to the mast until the end of the season when we'll evaluate it, even if I am saying keep Carrick. What I will say, I'll put Paul on the spot. Start of the season, you said 8th. When Carrick came in, you said 8th. Rory said here, a really good point here, is that when Amorim was sacked, we were almost level with Newcastle. We've had vastly contrasting veins of form since then. They are 12th. We're looking at Villa thinking we can catch them. So, yeah, talk us through that one, Paul. Are you going with 8th still, or are you looking at them and thinking, I mean, I'm not quite sure if 5th gets Champions League this season. The coefficients suggest that they will. But let's say top 4. Are you confident it's theirs at the moment? They're in there for another week. Are you confident that they are going to finish top 4, or are you still going 8?
Well, I think if you look at it, you look at the games they've got. They've got West Ham away, then they've got Everton away, which is tough. And I think in a way, a few of the players owe themselves something to have a good go at Everton because a few of them let themselves down. And they've got Crystal Palace at home. They're the next 3. They're the next 3 that they've got. And and then they've got Chelsea away, they've got Leeds at home, and then Brentford within incredible. It's getting a real short space of time because between now and say the end of April, this is just going to fly by. But they've got games there, and given United's current form, they are all 100% winning games for a Manchester United of old.
Yeah,
an improved Manchester United should be able to deal with that. The thing that Manchester United can't deal with now is that 11 that started against Arsenal, and they've already lost one player who was just getting himself right and who suddenly was making himself more important to the structure and gave the team balance. They've lost him. Now you have to look at it and say any injuries to any player at this moment, except in a defensive area, is a big problem. So injuries are key to United, where I believe at this moment in time should finish in the top 4.
Yeah.
If you look at it, should finish in the top 4. I said top 8 because I was thinking more about the club and what happened last season and looking still what they had there in the pot as players. But it was about them. Did they fancy it or not? Now they fancy it this moment in time. Everything suggests that some of them, the ones who have been there a while, their true colours normally come out after a little while. So they will be found out at some given time. But this is an opportunity to go straight in there and get Champions League football rather than take Europa League as a bonus.
Yeah.
Considering having a year out, Wayne, in my opinion. And it's there to be, this season is there to go and grab. And there's an opportunity to make a rapid return, because to finish 15th one season and then to finish in the top 4 the following season really doesn't speak volumes of this league at this moment in time. It kind of doesn't paint a good picture of how this league, because it shouldn't happen, Wayne. It should not happen in that way.
Or where United were, not in terms of position, in terms of morale and everything when Amorim was sacked. Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't have even contemplated that. Only on the idea, like we've said so many times, that they've had that opportunity to get into the top 4. But like we've said all along, is that you never had the confidence that they would get in there doing the things that they were doing under Amorim, which is tells you everything about a reign that looks more disastrous by the week. Very quick, because I want to obviously talk about West Ham briefly. We've got to. I'm not going to shy away from the Kobe Mainu love on this podcast, but he was Not brilliant against Spurs, but he was good again. Some people might say he was brilliant. Really interesting quote from Owen Hargreaves on TNT Sports. He said he's never seen Kobe Mainoo have a bad game. He's saying he's getting better. He will get better. An interesting quote. I'm not going to pressure on whether or not you've seen him have a bad game, but he's been so impressive since he came back in. To when you think about the psychological impacts it can have on a young kid being out for that period of time, to just coming into such an important position when the morale was low, and to play as well as that he has done, and for United to be ticking along so smoothly with him in there, he deserves so much praise for that, doesn't he?
He does, and it proves that if you just sit there quietly and just do your job, be the ultimate pro, and then when called upon, do your job the best to your ability. And then as well is that people around you see what you're doing, respect what you're doing, and they don't decide to take the law in their own hands and try and think they can do you a massive favour. That plays a massive part because that happening was causing conflict amongst the fans. Everyone had their opinions about it. It was causing conflict over that. So sometimes in life, being that strong person, trying to be a great family member, trying to be a great friend, sometimes you have to let the person, unless they ask for your help, deal with it themselves.
Yeah.
And he's dealt with it the best possible way. I hope the person who started this all off with him feels a little bit embarrassed, and hopefully they're walking around and people point at them and laugh how they try to almost curtail a family member's career by in that way, making people think the worst kind of things about him. And he has really done really well from that moment. And there's still a way for him to go. But as long as the team keep winning and as long as the team keeps looking solid where they are, as far as I'm concerned, he will stay in there. At such time, Michael might have to think to himself, I need to improve the team. Where can I improve it? I might have to do that. But Michael Carrick, people will stand with him in that way, that he's made the right decision to go and do that, and that side of it. But you can, when you look at him and Casemiro together in there, and they bounce off each other well, and it is about Casemiro's leadership.
Yep.
It is all about that. The way he talks to players. I look at the way he talks to players, and it just reminds me a little bit the way Robbo was as well.
Yeah.
That he would give you a look, and that look would hurt you. When you know he done something, he'll give you a look. He will ask you a question with that look as well, and you'd want to go out and do better. Doesn't need the arm. Doesn't need to be swinging arms at you and virtually pointing you out into the crowd that you've done something wrong. It's the manner in which he does it. It's called experience. It's willing to listen and learn and respect people around you. And that's what Casemiro does. And that's why that might be one of the things as well that has helped Kobe come through as well, to go next to him and got someone like him, and he feels happy in his job. And there's nothing better than anybody who's happy in their job, because you are gonna get them giving their best, even though they will make mistakes, but you will get the best from those people.
Yeah. Very quickly on West Ham, I don't know if anyone can hear, but my baby girl has found a voice in the background and she's singing very loudly at the moment. It's beautiful to me, but might not come across very well on a football podcast. So West Ham, they look down and out, but they've won at Burnley. They've had such a really good run recently. They lost at Chelsea. They were down to 10 men, but they won against Sunderland. They won at Spurs. They had the horrible holiday period that seemed to resign them to relegation, but they now, it looked like all three we knew we were going down, but they're keeping it honest. They're keeping it interesting. Got half a chance in there. The worst possible time to go there, but also when we're talking about a United team in rejuvenation, it's probably a good time to, I'm talking about different tests to find out what Michael Carrick's made of as a manager. This is definitely one. At least he'll get a good reception, you would have thought, from the West Ham fans.
He will do. I mean, any players come through at West Ham, 100% will get because he was in that era of, obviously, with Joe Cole there as well. All those kind of players come through. So he definitely will. The moment the game starts, that might change a little bit, but it won't be at him as it was with most managers, but Sir Alex always got it large there. United playing West Ham when West Ham are in a relegation fight is never a good shout either, because something always happens and they seem to always get something.
Yeah,
it really matters. Also, I think it all started with that Kenny Brown goal when Big Pete cleared it and it's hit him. He's ran away like he scored a goal of the season, Kenny. So, but you speak to Kenny about it, and he's so blatantly honest about it.
Yeah,
blatantly honest. He hasn't sugarcoated it or anything. He says exactly how it was. So I'm, in a certain way, I'm looking forward to it. I'm pleased. Could have been a lot worse. Having to go and work at Man United v West Ham, and United are just in that position when people are looking at me and just know that at the end of the day I'm on edge because West Ham, United losing to West Ham on their patch isn't good. So I'm looking forward to it. I know it's going to be a decent game because West Ham and themselves know that they can't lose the game. They can't lose the game, but they mostly believe they can win the game. And so I look at it. It's a tough game. It's a really, really tough game at this moment in time for me to call on what's going to happen here. If they were playing Spurs at White Hart Lane Tuesday, I would go with United without doubt. But this one is really, really difficult because everything is there. This is their. It's always their big game of the season. You could even say they talk about Spurs and whatever, but Manchester United is their big game. It's the one that everybody, the people who buy those season tickets, they all turn up for it.
Yeah,
that's the one.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask you to call it. Don't worry about that. That's what we'll do retrospectively when we tell everyone in hindsight we knew it was going to happen on next week's podcast. But it will be an interesting game. The Kenny Brown goal that you talk about. And then there was Michael Hughes in '95 on the volley. They drew 1-1 and we didn't win the title. And I mean, that one you talk about Schmeichel kicking it against him. I didn't see this one live, but there's the story of when United went down when they got relegated in '74. They were playing at Birmingham, who were fellow strugglers, and Alex Stepney tried to clear the ball, and it struck Bob Latchford and flew into the net. So when United's luck is down, look for a goal where the goalkeeper clears it and it bounces off a striker and flies into the net, because then we're really up against it. Hopefully that won't happen tomorrow night. Lamon seems a bit surer than him. If Onana was in goal, then you say we've got a good chance of that happening. But we'll see. Might be some rotation tomorrow. Might see something different about what Michael Carrick says about his B-side lineup or Plan B. Different things for us to talk about next week. Hopefully, though, the headline will be the United win again. I'll be back with Paul next week, guys. Have a great week. Thanks for listening and thanks for watching.